Got to turn the pack on. Friends, if you are out in the lobby and are interested in the Solar Town Hall, we're going to be starting in here in just 1 minute, so come on in. Bring coffee and cake. Try not to get it in a pew, but you're welcome to, and we'll see you in here in just a minute. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your interest in learning about what we have learned so far about the possibility of putting solar panels up here at the church, and for being here also for the questions and insights that we're sure you're going to bring. So you know me, I'm Dylan. I'm joined by Bob Barnhart this morning as the leader of our solar subcommittee, which we'll talk about in just a minute, but who will share in the presentation also. In between the two of us, we should have some answers for the questions you might have, or at the very least, we'll be able to look into the things that the questions that you have. If you grab the one off the pulpit. I'm sorry, I forgot to do that. So we're going to spend the first part of today sharing what we have learned so far about the possibility of installing solar panels at the church and the reason why we're looking at it now and the timeline moving forward if we choose to move forward in any way. And then we'll move into a time of questions after that. There are a few reasons that we are considering solar panels right now. The first is the theological call to care for creation, which is one that's out there all the time. As Christian people, we are invited by God to care for the creation that God has made. A couple of weeks ago, we used this scripture in worship, so I want to put it in front of us again. From Psalm 19, 1 through 4, it says, "Heaven is declaring God's glory, the sky is proclaiming his handiwork. One day gushes the news to the next, and one night informs another what needs to be known. Of course, there's no speech, no words, their voices can't be heard, but their sound extends through the world. Their words reach the ends of the earth." Creation itself declares the glory of God as the one who made it. They are a witness to who God is, and as part of our work to care for creation, to steward their witness. And we do that by caring for the world in all the ways that we know how. And so one of those is by transitioning as best we can as a people across the world to renewable sources of energy. And so solar energy coming from solar panels is a renewable energy source, and by moving in some form or fashion to renewable energy here at the church, it would reduce our carbon footprint. And just as one small data point, a single solar panel, so if you picture anybody in your neighborhood maybe has solar on their roof, one of those residential solar panels has roughly the equivalent impact on the environment as planting 10 trees, based on how much carbon it takes out of production by transitioning from a non-renewable to renewable energy source. If we were to put solar panels up at the church here, we consider that it would be a visible and positive witness to our faith. It would offer some good publicity about who we are and what we care about. It would affirm our commitment to caring for God's creation. There are some other churches in the area that you may have driven by that have solar panels, and they're visible, notable, and they say something about the church there simply by having solar panels present. And then we're also interested in solar panels because it reduces our energy costs. The cost savings come over the lifespan of the panels, and in general, in just about every formation that we're looking at installation, they make back the cost of the panels in 6 to 7 years. And so there's an initial amount that is spent to put solar panels up somewhere, and then the energy that is produced from that comes at no additional cost. And so over the lifespan of about 25 years, that energy is simply coming from the solar panels at no additional cost. And so because of that, it also diminishes the impact of future electricity rate increases. If you pay for electricity, you've probably noticed that it's getting more expensive most years. Energy companies continue asking for and requesting rate increases. And so from year over year, energy gets more expensive. To install solar panels, the one-time cost locks in that amount of energy those panels can produce at the cost of installation. We are currently spending, just for a point of reference, about $21,000 a year on electricity at this building. That is a large number. It is about what would be expected for a building our size and type. And we've done a lot of things to already do what we can by minimizing our electric costs. We've put in LED lighting all the places in which we can. We have schedules on our air conditioning to try to only use it when we need it. So 21,000 is simply just the amount of energy it takes to have a building this size powered to do the things that we do. I want to talk a minute about the impact of future energy increases. This is a chart that came out of one of the proposals from the solar companies that we're working with. So there's a number of assumptions being made in this, but that doesn't mean that they're wrong. I just want you to be aware of that. There on the left-hand side is year one, the monthly amount that we spend for electricity here at the church. It's a little under $2,000. And it's showing what it would look like if energy continues increasing year over year. There's a fixed rate of a certain amount of money that's spent on unchanging things. And then this chart is assuming about 6%, a 6% increase year over year of energy costs. And so if energy increases at that rate steadily over the years, then we move from just under $2,000 there in the first year to year 25 to 30, well over, or coming up right there to a 10 grand amount, or just over 10 grand a month for a total cost over 30 years of a very significant amount. So that's the sort of savings we could be looking at by bringing that down and keeping it static as opposed to ever increasing. Now, solar panels, I think, are a good thing all the time. There's a reason that we're looking at it right now, which is that at this moment, there is a direct pay credit coming from the federal government where nonprofits can receive 30% of the total cost of a solar panel installation back as a direct payment from the federal government, or 40% if it's an installation of all domestic products. If the solar panels are made in the United States and all of the products that go into the installation are from the United States. There is a limited remaining availability of those credits. So we started looking at this near the beginning of the year because we became aware that these credits had a time limit that was coming soon to expire. And briefly, that is to say, if we ground break, which requires putting money down by July 4th, we would have until the end of 2029 to complete a solar panel installation. If we didn't do anything by July 4th, we could still get that direct payment credit by the end, by completing an installation by the end of 2027. To show that a little bit more graphically, this is a timeline with 2026 right now on the left, 2030 there on the right. The large green bar is if we were to put money down by July 4th, that's the amount of time we would have to complete an installation of solar panels to get that payment credit from the government, about 3.5 years from this moment right now. If we don't start by July 4th, there's about 1.5 years remaining where we could choose to put in a solar panel installation and have it completed in order to get that federal tax credit from the federal government. So it's a short timeline, and at this moment, we're not anticipating meeting the July 4th. That's part of why we're having these meetings, in case it turns out there's a large upswell from the congregation of all of us saying, no, we really think we want to do this, and we want more time to do it, and so it's worth moving fast right now. And so we did start looking at this at the beginning of the year, and I want to click over to that slide to say that we formed the solar subcommittee back in February of this year because we saw that we had a limited remaining time on this. If we were going to do it, now is the time to do it, and so their purpose has been to explore the available options and make a recommendation to the church. It has taken a minute to explore options. We're not yet to the point of making a recommendation, but we're sharing with you what we know at this moment today. And the people who have been on that committee are Bob Barnhart as chair, Lee McAllister, Larry Judge, Dave Walsworth, Lori Barnhart, Cindy McKinney, Elaine Putvin, Mitchell Smith, and Mark Bruner, some of whom are in the room today, all of whom would be good resources if you have any questions after today. But we'll, of course, take questions near to the end of this. And so I'm going to pass it off to Bob to share a little bit about the things that they've done so far and what we know. Would you like to hold this, Bob, or do you want me to click through slides for you?
Yeah, if you don't
mind. I can do that.
If you don't mind clicking through. Yes, good morning. Appreciate you being here, and thank you, Dylan, for getting us going. And if you have questions, feel free to ask. I don't mind being interrupted if you've got a question while we're going. So I know when I'm in a group, sometimes I have trouble remembering the question by the time if I wait till the end. So I'm open to that. But we began with our first meeting was with an organization called Michigan Saves, and that is a nonprofit that was formed specifically to assist particularly congregations and other nonprofits that are looking to solarize their buildings. And the idea was that they would be able to give them the information that they need to get started, to help them understand the possibility of the 30% return that you can get on the cost of your total costs, and the time frame, and just some of the language that you need to know. They also provide a very comprehensive list of possible solar companies in the state that you could contact. We looked at ones that are in our area, and so we looked at 3 different companies. One was right here in Lansing, another out of Ann Arbor, and one from St. John's. We also did some inquiry with other houses of worship that have installed their solar panels, and got their input of a company that they worked with, and how they were feeling about that, how pleased they were with the work that they had, any concerns they had. So we got their input as well. And we did choose 3 different solar vendors: Absolute Solar, Homeland Solar, and Quality Solar. And those 3 each came and did a site visit here, looking over our building. Also used
Satellite technology?
satellite. Thank you.
Yeah.
Phew. Age is catching up. And figured out different possibilities for what arrays we could have for our building. So those visits were very helpful, and then they came back to us with proposals. Next slide, please. It was determined that a solar installation could generate any amount of electricity, up to 110% of the church's annual electric needs. So they went over what those arrays might look like. The panels that they can provide will have a lifespan of 25 to 30 years. That's their warranty. They will probably go beyond that. At the end of that 25 to 30 years, they still are within about 90%, 85 to 90% production of the electricity that they do at the beginning. So they're very long term. And I just might add that if any panel is not working well, there is a 5-year guarantee that they will replace them at no additional cost. Also, we would require what they call a solar inverter the electricity that we get comes at DC, and they would have to change it to AC in order for it to work in the building. So that transformer is another additional piece, and those have a guarantee of 10 to 15 years. So that would probably have to be replaced halfway through. That's a smaller amount of the cost overall, but it is one of the costs. They also talked some about battery backup, but we felt at this time that would not be that beneficial to us for the additional costs that it would take. So we then looked at 4 possible locations. We looked at the recommendation of what they could do with the flat roof, what we could do with the building right over our sanctuary here, the metal roof. We looked at our south lawn, the open area there, and we also looked at the west lawn that faces Oakham's Road. The flat roof that we looked at, it would require mounting of the arrays on ballast. They would be just weighted down panels and would cover a large area of the roof. You can see by that picture, those are one of the proposals of what how many panels they might be able to put there. The angle that they would be at from a flat roof is a little less productive as say the panels on the metal roof, or that they could do on the lawn. But they could put quite a large number of panels there to produce it. But this is a fairly new flat roof. It has a vinyl, it has a vinyl membrane. So there were concerns about that. There's insulation under that. So it was decided by the board that we would not use the flat roof. The metal roof site was very promising. We can put an array on the south side, so we're facing the sun, of course, and it just happened to be that that's the way the south side faces, so we're fortunate with that. Anyway, we have a south side facing. The south side does face south. I can't quite read that. Yes, the clamping. And it would be simple with the way that the metal roof is. It has ridges that stick out probably about an inch or so, and there are clamps that they're specially made that they can clamp it directly to the ridges on that roof to hold the panels in place. Very sturdy. They've done this kind of work on they've dealt with many metal roofs like this, the companies we've talked with, and so that's a very effective way of doing it. It also allows for a better angle so that you get a higher percentage of the sun energy, and so it was a very effective way to do that. So that's one of the sites that we're looking at. The south lawn, again, it is south-facing, which is the most beneficial. The ground mount, it actually can give you your optimal angle for the percentage of energy that it can produce from the sun that it receives. It would require, but it is requiring a variance because of just the township laws that you have to be set back so far from the road. And it would be between our building and the road, there wasn't enough space according to their current setbacks. So we have made an application to the township to forego that variance and allow us to put the solar power there to put panels. And we actually have a hearing later this week where they will be deciding upon that. So we'll be meeting with the township. It's not the regular board meeting.
Zoning board.
Zoning board meeting. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, and if you wanted to attend, it's on 6:30 on Wednesday, the 17th, and at the township building. So if you wanted to come and comment on it, I'm going to be there, and hopefully several of our members of our planning committee will be there, but I wouldn't mind the moral support. Mark? Oh. Yes, I believe it is scheduled to be broadcast. Yeah. And I can probably get the information to you. If somebody is interested, let me know, and I'll get the information to you of how to find that. Yes. We need a setback of about 30 feet, and they require about 50. So there is no sidewalk.
There is not. So just to help orient anybody who has trouble with pictures, I put us back in the slide that has it. So this is not on the side of Okemos Street. This would be off of Methodist Street.
Methodist, yeah.
Much less busy as far as the roads go. No sidewalk. Up against the windows of the education wing between that space and the road.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. Yes. Not really. It would block the view. I mean, you'd still get light into the room from. It's not going to block that much light, but you would be looking at the back side of the panels. It might even be a little more than that. It might be 10, about. I think it was around 10 actually. So you're right. Yeah. All right. Let's look at one other area that we looked at. Was the west lawn that faces west, obviously, and it also does face Okemos Road. It is rather low efficiency. With the results information that we got back from the companies, that would not generate a significant amount of energy in comparison to south-facing arrays. So ultimately, we determined that it would not be worth the investment to put it on that side of the building. Yes. That was with the flat roof, but not doing the flat roof. We'll get roughly 50% or so, maybe a little bit over 50% of our energy cost. But I mean, cutting it in half, as we said, it was around $21,000 a month now, and it's only going to increase, as all of you know, if you've been looking at your energy bills, they keep going up. And we'll be saving a significant amount of money.
Yeah, and to be clear, 50%, Bob was saying, would be with a sanctuary metal roof installation and the south lawn. So we wanted to show you all four to show that all the spaces that we've looked at, we've knocked out of consideration the flat roof and the whichever side the Okemos Road side is. So the maximum possible with those installation sites would be 50. We'll break them out between the two in just a minute on the next two slides. Okay. But I did see a question, I think, from Mark. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. You will generate some, but it certainly won't be anywhere near what you get during the summer months. So. Mm-hmm. That's a very good point, Mark, and I think that is a concern that many people in Michigan have when they're considering solar, and so that the amount that you get during the summer, you're going to cover actually more than what you even use during the summer in terms of electricity. Anytime we have excess, all the power goes back to consumers, and they will give us about what I've heard is about somewhere between 50 to 60% reduction for that energy for what we return. They'll pay us back for it and take that off of our bill. Yes.
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 Correct. So there's no guarantees. It is not set by, our power comes from consumers' energy. So consumers' energy doesn't set it, is my understanding. Yeah, so, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I will say, with the variability, some of our larger, all of our largest months of energy come in the summer because the air conditioning takes the most electric use out of all the rest of the things. Because we have gas heating, in the winter months, our cost moves more towards gas than towards electric, so that works out well for us. By looking at less than 100 or more than 100%, I think we'll end up getting more bang for our buck if we go forward with this, because we won't be selling as much back to consumers because we're so far from 100%. It may still happen, but we're more likely going to be using it in real time as a solar panel would be producing it.
Right. Yeah, the majority we will use. Yeah. Yes, David.
Mm-hmm. And from about April through October, we would generate more than we used, assuming we were using the flat roof.
Mm-hmm. Which we're not. Mm-hmm.
So, but to give you a hint, where we would be underproducing would be November through March. So, if you bring everything down, I don't think we'll ever really not need the electric hookup on a given day.
Yeah, we are not about to disconnect ourselves from consumers' energy. That is not part of what this proposal is for.
Lori?
So in those months where we're not generating as much, that is when the credits are applied.
Mhm.
So the idea is that will balance out over the year.
Did I see a question for Virginia? Yes.
In a month-by-month analysis,
Mhm.
the average to 50% savings across a year.
Over a year period.
Or what we currently spend across a year.
Yes.
Correct.
Mhm.
Minus
Yeah.
balances out.
Yeah.
And that could be that we have overages, or because we would be using
Yes.
I think that sounds right. Yes. And we do, in summer, as we said, those are our highest cost months. And so we would be certainly keep the costs down during that period of time. Go ahead, Scott.
So interestingly, because it costs, the more energy you're producing, the more it costs, 6 to 7 months seems to work out across any size installation.
Yeah, any size, yeah.
6, 7 years. Thank you.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to say
yeah.
months. 6 to 7 years. Yep. Shall we give you some numbers? That's the next two
Yes,
slides.
yeah. Why don't we look at the next slide, and maybe that'll answer a few more questions. Hey, what we're looking at is offsetting our energy, and we'll be offsetting we're going to look at the two different separate areas. First, the metal roof. There we'll offset the estimates from the various companies. We had 3 companies that gave estimates. So the estimates range from, depending on, different companies had different ideas on how the best to do the arrays. So the range was somewhere between 17 and 28% of our energy use would be offset by the solar arrays that they would put on the metal roof. That cost before the credits is somewhere between $32,000 to $60,000. With that, but with the after the credits.
So after direct pay from the government,
the
30%.
Yes. After the 30% direct pay. So that was the before that, our cost to get that 17 to 28% offset would be $32,000 to $60,000, depending on the array. So different companies are suggesting a different way of doing it. The costs after the credits, that the 30%, which was called direct pay, that you get after everything is all set and you're connected to consumers' energy, then you can apply to the government to the IRS for a return of 30%, assuming we are done by the end of 2027. And after the credits, our cost then would be that 30% coming back, drops it down to 23 to 42%. So gives us savings somewhere each year of around $3,500 to $5,900.
Well, to be clear, it gives us savings that first year. But then if energy keeps getting more and more expensive.
Okay, and then, as we look at probably a possible 6% increase in costs with consumers' energy, over a 25-year period, we could save anywhere from $186,700 to over $300,000. So significant savings during that period of time that we'd otherwise be paying to consumers' energy. Yes, Virginia.
Yeah. So on the next slide.
Yeah, this is only one site. This is the roof over this building, the metal roof. Now we're going to look at the south lawn. So next slide.
Yes.
And on the south lawn, the saving would, depending on the array and the company we choose to go with, would be somewhere between 24 to 34% with that area. And the cost to have that installed would be somewhere between $71,000 and $77,000. With the 30% credit, then that brings the cost down to $50,000 to $54,000. And then our initial annual savings would be $5,000 to $7,000 the first year, and over a 25-year period, then the savings, this is just the south lawn, will be somewhere between $246,000 and $365,000.
Yeah. So I also want to share other things, future considerations. It's come up in conversation as folks look around the property and the building and say, we get the most sun out in the parking lot. That is absolutely true. And they've asked, what about carports? Those are more expensive than regular solar panel installations and something we're not in a position to do at this moment because of the state of the parking lot. So that's something that we could look at in the future. The parking lot and the needs to consider that is sort of in the awareness of the trustees and church leadership, but is a much larger project further down the road. And so if we're interested in doing solar there, that's something we can consider then when we're putting in all of the plans about what it looks like to address all of that together.
Can I add something to that? Just as an example, the Islamic Center and University University Lutheran Church, I believe it is. They're right next to each other, and they have been working together on solar energy there. They're on their third phase. So they started out with a smaller array and saw how that went and where they were pleased with the results, and they saved and felt that they could raise more, and so they did a second one, and now they're raising funds and preparing to do a third to get. I think they're going to get to 100% with this one. So we have options down the road, but I think this would be a very good start for us, and I think it's affordable. But we'll get into the cost here.
Yeah, well, and that takes me into where are we going from here? So we're looking to share all this with you and gauge the sort of feedback from the congregation as a whole, because there's all of those cascading questions. Do we want solar power? Does it make sense for us? How much do we want to start with, and in what ways? Because that involves, the cost. We start with a smaller cost and scale it out and consider doing more later, because that's certainly a possibility. Start larger so that we have more impacts immediately, balancing in the need, whether or not we want to match the timeline it takes to basically get 30% or 40% off of the total cost. And so we're trying to gauge all of that, starting with these town hall meetings. And so the comments and questions you have will help with that. If you have thoughts about it individually that you want to share with me or Bob or any of the rest of the committee, we would welcome those.
Let me add a little something as we're looking at the time frame. I did hear back from one of the companies that we've gotten proposals from, and asked them, what if it looked like we were not going to be able to be done be set by July 4th for a first down payment to get the extended time to get it all done by the end of 2029. So I asked them, how soon would you need to know in order to complete it by 2027, the end of December 2027? They said we have until March of next year. If they know by the first quarter of next year, they could still finish before the end of the year, and we could still get that 30% back. So that was good news, but I just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, well, that's very good news. We're trying to go at the right pace for the congregation. We don't want to rush this and make decisions that we regret later. Yeah. But there's an also opportunity here. Then, if we want to take it, we want to do what we can to move forward with it. So we are not. Yeah, Ken. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. I didn't do that math, but it would be $450,000 to $600,000 or so, 660-ish. Over. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In order to get 50, yeah. Right.
Yep.
And the estimates we've gotten. I'm sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. With the result, recommend proposals we've gotten from the other companies. They all basically said we would get somewhere 51 to 52% return overall. So covering about half of what our expenses are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The 110% is a maximum set on us. We cannot become an energy producer. We're primarily a church. We don't want to be an energy producer. And Consumers Energy wants to make sure, and the state laws make sure, that we know that. So we're only allowed to look at what makes sense for offsetting the cost of this building, which they set at 110%. So we're not looking at proposals that get us all to 110%, but looking down the road, that would always be, unless they change the rules somehow, the maximum allowable for us. Because the next slide is questions. Let me just say the last two things on this slide, which is to say that I want you to be aware we're awaiting Oh, excuse me, I haven't updated that. We have a remaining proposal. We have all the proposals in to get costs. We're still awaiting that zoning variance request, and if the township approves that, then we've got decisions we can make about one or the other. If the township says, nope, you can't do that, then that takes a decision out of our hands, and the decision is, do we want to do the metal roof or not? And then the church leadership is weighing options and timelines. So this proposal is coming out of the subcommittee of trustees. It will find its way back to trustees to have discussion and a decision, go from there to cabinet, and then most likely, and I'm going to, and not even most likely, it will, I think, move from there to a congregational decision. The scope that we're talking in terms of cost and impact to the church, we want to make sure that we have a strong base of support from the congregation to know that we're doing something that we all agree should be done. So when I say that, I think I created confusion previously. That doesn't mean that it's coming up on the agenda for the meeting at the end of this month. We can hold other meetings in the timeline that we need to in order to do this work, because again, we're trying not to rush it, but to do it in a timeline that makes sense. All right, you've been doing a great job asking questions so far. What other questions do you have that we can consider? Yeah, yes.
Just one question. The cost of extra insurance related to
Mm-hmm.
having the panels on the roof and the side
Absolutely.
has that been?
It has. So we got a back of the envelope number, so not something to take to the bank, but when we started looking at this from our insurance provider, it said if you did the full gamut 110% production, it'd be an additional about $500 in insurance costs to the church. So not a massive or significant amount per year. It wouldn't cover everything. Some things would be covered by that, some would be covered by the warranty of the solar panels, and some things we would be on the hook for, potentially. But it would be a relatively minimal of considering the overall cost of our insurance. Virginia and then
You're first, yeah,
Mark,
and
yeah.
then Mark.
Yeah, we have some funds that could go towards this, and it really depends on the size of the project that we end up deciding to do. So if we were to only look at the metal roof, and we were to look at the companies that gave us the lower quotes for it with less energy production, that would be more within the realm of doing it with existing church funds. To go beyond that would require more fundraising from the congregation.
Mark?
Mark? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, shoot. So payback period, so the question, are there ongoing maintenance? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are not ongoing maintenance costs, I believe, unless you correct me there. And that includes that we don't even have to clean off the solar panels. It's part of, people put them in inaccessible places all the time. It's part of how they're designed. The snow melts off of it. Pollen and things blow off of it. I did the math to get to those 25-year savings. I forgot to include the part where we had to pay for a second inverter over a 25-year span. So knock some dollars off of that. Do you remember offhand, Bob, about how much the inverter costs?
I don't. I might be able to find that.
I remember
proposals.
6 to 10. Is it 12,000? Okay.
Oh, you got that.
About 12,000. So that would be a cost to have in mind at about that 10 to or so year mark, 10 to 12.
Yeah. Ken? The answer to that question is no. We looked at the possibility and felt that it was not, and the companies also felt it probably was not worth it for us to set up a battery system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was the second part of your question? Or is that both wrapped in one? Oh, perfect. Yep, it feeds back into the main electric system. It wouldn't change anything using electricity in the church. It would merge with consumers' energy and power the church that way together. Herb?
You keep talking about 6, 7 year payback,
Mm-hmm.
but yet you got these new estimates of savings
Yeah.
that were put in.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like something hasn't
Were you with us last time, Herb? Were you comparing the numbers from the last town hall to this one? Yeah. So the change in the math there is that I looked at the increasing energy cost as opposed to a static energy cost. So if energy remains consistent from between today and 25 years from now, we'd have saved a lot less than if energy continues getting more expensive. But the payback would be a little quicker, yeah. I didn't do those numbers. I leaned on the proposals, and all the companies agreed it's 6 to 7 years to get the payback. And so I trust that math, but I haven't double-checked it.
Yeah, Mark?
Yeah. I will answer for myself and let Bob answer for the committee also, because I think you have a pulse of it, and we might agree. I think we would do it without the tax credits. There's a particular incentive for doing it with. It's part of why we're looking at it now. But I think we would be interested in doing it regardless. And that's part of the conversation that we've had about doing it in phases. If we're looking at a phase 2, it would almost certainly come beyond the place at which there'd be a tax credit benefiting it. And I think we would still find it beneficial for the theological creation care side and for the practical financial offsetting our energy costs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, that's a question. I'm not enough of an economics person to know, to compare Michigan to California. And I also think I'm lacking enough information to do a good job answering your second question about would we still do it if there were no buyback credits from consumers' energy and if energy costs didn't increase. I will say if energy costs... Yeah, I do think that the way we are looking at this, and by looking at 50%, the amount that consumers' energy would pay us for any excess electricity almost doesn't come into play. I don't think that's going to be the main source of benefit from the solar panels.
We will
We
generate more than 100%, and so that extra, whatever more than we use, will go to consumers. But consumers will take that energy, they will use that additional energy and sell it to others. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know whose decisions those were, but I'm pretty sure that consumers' energy will still be making money. We're not taking money out of their pockets, and yeah. But I do think, you know, if more and more places do have solar energy, consumers' energy may have to shrink, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is a change. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna-
Your construction, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of,
I think another thing I just want to add, during the time when we would be producing the most, where we might have excess energy, is also their highest needs time, when it would be the middle of the afternoon during the summer, and they're really struggling to get enough. They're asking homes to reduce their use. I'm on a program where certain hours during the summer, I'm not getting any. They're reducing the amount of energy I'm getting. So they're turning off my air conditioning for short periods of time, so I'm not using as much energy. So I'm giving them control to do that. But if this is actually probably helping them in the long run. I don't know. It looks to me that way.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure they know better than we do how
Yes.
they're balancing the web of energy productions and getting it out there. They're certainly continuing. They're not going to go anywhere, even if everybody puts up a solar panel, because of those, because they're providing electricity at night. They have the whole infrastructure of power and getting it everywhere it needs to be. And they are comfortable with this and certainly not making any statements that I've heard that they're trying to keep people from getting solar. And in fact, they seem relatively cooperative with it. Yeah, Lori.
One topic that didn't come up is, you did mention other houses of worship in this area do have solar arrays. And I will say during our first town hall, we had some younger, newer attendees here who were very enthusiastic, saying that when they're, looking for a church, this is the type of progressive, environmental message that they were getting, and they were excited to know that their children were going to be going in this church. They were going in this direction.
Yeah. Lori was saying, for anyone who might not hear, there are some folks at the last town hall who are younger with young children who said that this was the sort of thing that they would look for in a church and would appreciate having their children grow up in a church that does this, has a sort of visible care for creation. I think it says something about who we are without having to print it out in a really tangible way if we were to put solar panels up in some fashion. Yeah, Herb. If we were to try to meet the July 4th deadline, then we would need they call it a safe harbor of 10% of the total cost of the project. And so that, because this project, if we were to do just the metal roof on the lowest end is 30-something grand, could be $3,000 to $4,000. If we look at all of it, we're looking much more like 12 plus thousand.
10 to 11.
Yeah. So not an incomprehensible amount of money, but it would be money that would be a down payment on a project that we would need to be very comfortable and confident that we would see all the way through to the end. And so that's why we haven't looked at this moment to say, yeah, we really need to hit this July 4th deadline, because we don't want to put down money and then not have it in place for the remaining 90%.
And as I mentioned, one of the companies that sent us a proposal, I talked with them, and they indicated that they would be able to meet the end of 2027, even if we weren't able to get that extended 2 years. They can still get it done in time. So we would still qualify for the 30% direct pay that could come back.
Yeah, Kathy.
Well, in order to get the direct pay, we would still have to use primarily, I think it's over 50% domestic, and all three proposals we've gotten are going to meet that standard.
You're thinking delays with chip? Mhm.
Yeah. Most of these companies already have the panels in stock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. These companies are also all well aware of this timeline, that they're seeing an increase of people trying to meet these deadlines, and so they are in doing all those preparations to make sure they're ready to meet all of their obligations.
And that's actually why they were on the, the list of companies that were recommended by Michigan Saves. They're part of the reason they're recommended, because they know about this and are willing to work on that. They have, I'm not sure what the percentage, I thought the percentage was over 50%, but anyway.
There's one that quoted us the 40%,
Oh,
the most
okay.
recent one.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, yes. Yeah, yeah. Those are the metal racks that they would use for the ground-mounted
No.
panels. Yeah,
Yeah. So there are many more panels being made domestically than before, because that part has been in place for some time now. I don't know how long, but the companies have been making that shift in their supply chains. And production is ramped up in the States. Mhm. Yeah. For those who didn't hear, Lori said that's part of the reason that the federal government has done this work, is they're looking to reshore the manufacturing as they can. This is one way they do it, like with any other sort of government subsidy program, to try to manage those larger economic pieces. And Michigan Saves is a nonprofit organization, but that has some connection with the state of Michigan, if I understand correctly, because the state of Michigan is interested in having those benefits come to Michigan. The benefits we receive are just as much received by any company that we would work with, because they get to sell us their product at 30% off, but they get paid 100% for it.
it's a benefit to the state.
Yeah, so what other questions are there? All right, so I know it's a fair amount to mull over. Yeah, Virginia. Sure. Mhm. 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 That's a great question. Well, once we know what the zoning board says, we'll know a lot better what scope of a project we might be looking at. We could choose to have a smaller scope, but this township might choose that for us. And then I think we would lay out some sort of a timeline that includes some time for fundraising, to make sure that we were in place before March of next year, and
Yeah.
I imagine well before that if we can. And to know what that will look like, I think will mostly depend on what size project we're trying to meet. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about. We'll let you go. If you've got more questions that you want to just ask one-on-one, we would welcome them. Already in the newsletter, there has been a copy of the presentation we used last time. We'll update it this week. There's a couple of changes. Herb picked up on them already. Were made this one, and all of the questions and answers we've gotten here today, Lori's been taking notes on, so we'll put those in the newsletter also, so you have some reference points to go back to. If you're just thinking about it, mulling it over, we'll see where it takes us from here. I would invite you to be in prayer with us over this, that we do whatever is the right thing that God has in front of us to manage all of the different pieces of this and move together as a congregation into whatever future God has for us. And so actually, I didn't do this last time. Why don't we end with a word of prayer, and then we'll send you off. But let's pray. It's a good day for praying. Gracious God, we trust that you've been in this place, that you have been helping us hear and understand one another, and we pray that you would gift us wisdom and discernment as we seek to understand together which way and what to do as a church congregation together. Remind us and help us hold true to who we are as your disciples in this place and in this church, and help us live out that calling in all the ways that we can. We pray all this in Christ's name. Amen. Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you all very much.
Uh,